My name is Ryan Holloway and I still remember the exact moment the room turned cold. The engagement hall smelled like champagne and eucalyptus, cheap centerpieces trying to look expensive. My sister, Lila, sat at the head table in a pale blue dress, her hands folded neatly in her lap like she was attending a recital instead of her own celebration. Next to her stood her fiancé, Marcus, microphone in hand, smiling the way men do when they believe the room belongs to them. He was halfway through his toast when his eyes landed on me. And of course, he said, chuckling, not everyone here comes from the same standards. Pause. A deliberate one. Some people are just low-class trash who get lucky standing near better families. Laughter rippled. Not loud. Nervous. Polite. My sister didn't look at me. She adjusted her ring. I felt my jaw tighten not from anger at first, but from something older. A familiar pressure behind my ribs. I'd worn my only suit. Ironed it twice. I told myself I was here to support her, not to belong. Marcus lifted his glass toward me. No offense, man. That was the offense. I noticed small things then, the way the stage lights flickered, the way the DJ pretended to check cables, the way my water glass trembled slightly in my hand. I didn't stand up right away. That mattered. People expect anger to be loud, to knock over chairs, to demand apologies. Mine wasn't like that. Mine settled. It pulled inward, the way a tide disappears before it comes back wrong. Marcus turned back to the crowd, satisfied. The band filled the silence. Forks clinked. Conversations restarted, carefully avoiding my side of the room, like I'd become something contagious. My sister finally looked at me then. Not with concern. With calculation. That hurt more than the words. I pushed my chair back slowly. The legs scraped against the floor, sharp enough to cut through the music. A few heads turned. I straightened my jacket, felt the weight of something thin and hard in my inner pocket, pressing against my ribs like a reminder. As I walked toward the stage, my shoes stuck slightly to the floor, spilled champagne, sugar drying into glue. Every step felt deliberate, audible. Marcus noticed me halfway there. His smile tightened. Hey man, he said into the mic, laughing it off. We're all just having fun tonight. Fun. I climbed the steps, the lights blinding up close. I could smell his cologne now, expensive, aggressive. He leaned toward me and whispered, "Don't embarrass yourself." Behind him, my sister's fingers twisted together in her lap. She didn't stop me. She didn't warn him. Marcus tried to lower the microphone, but I gently took it from his hand. Not forceful. Come. The room went silent again. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult him back. I looked out at the crowd, family, co-workers, strangers who'd already decided who I was. Then I said, since we're talking about standards, I think it's time everyone understood why I'm actually here tonight. My sister's face drained of color. And Marcus finally realized I hadn't come empty-handed. I let the silence stretch. Not long, just enough to make people lean forward without realizing they were doing it. My name is Ryan Holloway, I said steady. And I was invited here because I'm family. Not because I fit in. Not because I impress anyone. I glanced at Marcus. But because tonight was supposed to be about honesty. A few people shifted in their seats. Someone near the back laughed softly, unsure. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a thin folder. Nothing dramatic. No slam. Just paper. I rested it against the podium like it belonged there. Marcus tried to smile again. Buddy, this isn't. I'm not your buddy, I said, still calm. That did it. The smile left him. I opened the folder and looked down, not because I needed to read, but because I wanted to feel the weight of it one more time. The late nights. The favors called in. The signatures I'd hesitated before giving. You see, I continued, when Marcus started his consulting firm, he didn't have clients. He had an idea and a last name that opened doors. What he didn't have was capital. My sister stood up halfway, then sat back down. So he came to me, I said. Not to the room. Not to the family. To me. The low-class trash. Because when banks said no, I said yes. Murmurs spread now. Real ones. I held up the first page. This is the original loan agreement. Signed 3 years ago. In my name. Marcus's jaw tightened. And this, I said, turning the page slowly, is what happens when someone forgets who helped them stand on this stage. The DJ's hand hovered over the music button. No one moved. And for the first time all night, Marcus didn't look taller than me anymore. Marcus reached for the microphone again, but I shifted it just out of reach. Not aggressively. Just enough. This isn't the place, he said, his voice low, teeth clenched. I nodded. You're right. It isn't. But you made it the place when you decided to perform. A few people laughed, real laughter this time. Not nervous. Not polite. I flipped the folder closed and rested both hands on it. I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm here to explain why I won't be invisible anymore. I turned toward my sister. Lila's eyes were glossy, fixed on the floor like it might open and swallow her. You knew, I said. Not accusing. Just stating a fact. You watched him take credit for things he didn't build. And you let him decide what I was worth. She opened her mouth, then closed it. That answer was enough. I faced the room again. 3 years ago I worked 2 jobs. I slept on a couch. I missed birthdays. Because I believed helping family meant something. My hands shook slightly. I didn't hide it. That was my flaw. I thought loyalty was mutual by default. I slid one paper out of the folder and held it up. This document ends tonight. It transfers full responsibility for the remaining debt back to Marcus. Effective immediately. Gasps now. Uncontrolled. Marcus stepped back, bumping into the podium. You can't do that, he snapped. I met his eyes. I already did. The room felt heavier, like air before a storm. I could hear my own breathing. I set the paper back inside the folder. I didn't come here to take anything from you. I paused. I came here to give it back. And that was when Marcus finally looked afraid, not of me but of what came next. The silence broke in pieces. A woman near the front whispered, "Is that true?" Someone else stood up to get a better look at the stage. Phones stayed down, not because people weren't curious, but because no one wanted to be the first to turn this into spectacle. Marcus's face flushed. You're twisting things, he said louder now. Everyone knows investors take risks. I nodded once. They do. And they own them. I reached into the folder again, slower this time, and pulled out a second document. This is the notice I filed this afternoon. The one that removes my name from any future liability. I tapped the page lightly. I kept the timing respectful. I didn't want to ruin your night. That earned a bitter laugh from somewhere in the crowd. My sister finally stood. Ryan, please, she said, her voice cracking. We can talk about this later. I looked at her, really looked. The sister who used to borrow my hoodie in high school. The one who knew exactly how much that money had cost me. This is later, I said softly. Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice. You think this makes you look better? He hissed. Walking up here like some kind of... like someone who knows his value? I finished. That landed harder than anything I'd said all night. I handed the folder to him. He hesitated before taking it, like the paper might burn. I'm done being useful only when I'm quiet, I said. You wanted the stage. You can keep it. I turned away from the microphone, the lights warm on my back. Behind me I heard pages rustle. Then Marcus said my name again, this time without the smile. And I knew the balance had shifted for good. I took 2 steps down from the stage before I heard my sister say my name. Not sharply. Not angrily. Like she was afraid it might disappear if she said it wrong. Ryan, wait. I stopped, one hand on the railing. The metal was cold, grounding. I turned back slowly. Lila walked toward me, her heels unsteady on the polished floor. Up close I could see it. The mascara she'd touched up too many times, the way her smile kept failing halfway. She didn't look like a bride anymore. She looked like my little sister again, caught between wanting to be chosen and wanting to be right. You didn't have to do it like this, she said. I nodded. I didn't want to do it at all. Behind her, Marcus was flipping through the folder too fast, panic hiding behind irritation. He wasn't listening anymore. He was calculating. Lila lowered her voice. He didn't mean it. The comment. He was nervous. I felt something in me loosen, not relief, just clarity. He meant it enough to say it out loud, I replied. And you meant it enough not to stop him. That landed quietly between us. She reached for my arm, then thought better of it. So what happens now? I exhaled. The question wasn't about money. It never had been. Now, I said, you get to decide who you're standing next to. Not who looks good. Not who sounds impressive. Who shows up when it costs something. The band still hadn't started. The room was suspended, waiting for permission to move on. I stepped down the last stair and walked past her toward the exit. As I reached the doors, I heard Marcus call out, not angry, not mocking. Concerned. And that was the moment I realized, I wasn't walking away from them. They were finally watching me leave. The hallway outside the ballroom was quiet, carpet swallowing my footsteps like it had been waiting for me. I paused near a framed photo of the venue from decades ago, same chandeliers, different faces. People smiling because they thought moments like this lasted. I loosened my tie. My hands were steady now. That surprised me. Behind the doors, the engagement party restarted in pieces. Music first. Then voices. Laughter that felt thinner than before, stretched over something fragile. I didn't need to see it to know Marcus would recover. Men like him always do, at least on the surface. What he wouldn't recover was certainty. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls. All from my sister. I didn't open them. Not out of spite. Out of restraint. If I answered now, I'd say too much, or worse, say something rehearsed. She deserved honesty, not performance. I stepped outside. Cool air hit my face, carrying the faint smell of rain and city exhaust. A valet looked up at me, unsure if I was arriving or leaving. Leaving, I said. As I waited for my car, I thought about how small the word trash had sounded when Marcus said it, and how heavy it had felt anyway. Labels only work when you carry them for someone else. My phone buzzed again. A text this time. I didn't protect you, my sister wrote. I should have. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. The car pulled up, headlights cutting across the pavement. I didn't reply yet. Some conversations need space to become real. As I got in, I realized something quietly powerful. For the first time, my silence wasn't weakness. It was choice. The drive home felt longer than it was. City lights blurred past the windshield, red and white streaks like threads being pulled loose. I rolled the window down an inch, letting the cold air sting my knuckles on the steering wheel. It kept me present. At a red light, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't my sister. It was an email notification. Subject line: Loan adjustment confirmation. Plain. Administrative. Final. I pulled into an empty parking lot and opened it. Everything was there in black and white. My name cleared, my responsibility ended. No drama. No applause. Just closure, stamped and time-marked. I sat there longer than necessary. I thought about how badly I'd wanted Marcus to apologize. How part of me had imagined him chasing me down, admitting he was wrong. That was my flaw. I still wanted validation from people who'd already shown me who they were. My phone buzzed once more. A final message from Lila. I don't know what this means for us yet. But I see you now. I let that sit. Seeing isn't the same as choosing. And I'd learned not to confuse the two. When I finally drove away, I didn't feel victorious. I felt lighter. Like I'd set down something heavy I'd been carrying out of habit, not necessity. They'd had the stage. The microphone. The crowd. What I took with me was quieter, but it lasted longer. I didn't need them to call me anything ever again. I already knew what I was worth.